Extreme Foolishness TV here. This is where I talk about extreme foolishness. Today I'm going to be speaking to the Asian community from the heart. The Asian community has suffered a lot of attacks lately, especially in the wake of Donald Trump's disparaging comments against the Asian community with respect to the coronavirus pandemic. I unequivocally condemn all the attacks on the Asian community. I think it is absolutely wrong and despicable to attack people based on their race, gender, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. I think it is absolutely wrong and despicable. However, recently the Asian community has been more vocal about the attacks on their community for obvious reasons, especially after a madman shot and killed about 6 Asians at the spa in Atlanta. Multiple attacks against several Asian spas. Obviously, the Asian community was targeted. But to really deal with the hatred towards the Asian community, the Asian community cannot successfully address these attacks using an individualistic approach. It has to be a communal approach. For example, the Asian community, for the most part, has been silent when other minorities are attacked. For the most part, last year during the Black Lives Matter movement, after George Floyd was killed by the officer, I did not observe the Asian community coming out in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, or at the very least speaking out against the injustice that happened and the police brutality that happens so often to the black community, especially black men in America. It's like the Asian community feels like it's the privileged minority that, okay, if we're successful in our businesses, that, hey, we don't have to speak against injustice because it doesn't directly impact our community. Martin Luther King once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So if you turn a blind eye to injustice that is perpetrated on another community thinking it wouldn't affect you, that injustice will grow. It's going to germinate to the point that it will come and bite you in your own neighborhood. That is why I said a communal approach to addressing this injustice is the best way to tackle it head on versus an individualistic approach, which the Asian community wants to do. Saying, oh, we are the privileged minority. If you look at the history of racism in the United States, the Asian community has not been excluded. At some point in time, they had Chinese exclusion laws in the United States. At some point in time, when only whites could become citizens, the Asian community were not allowed to become citizens, even though a lot of them fought in courts to become citizens. They argued they were white because at the time, only whites were allowed to become citizens. But they lost their battles in court because the court ruled over and over that Asians cannot be considered to be white people. So they were not allowed to become citizens until the passage of the 14th Amendment, which was pretty much passed to make sure that freed slaves were citizens. But other minorities benefited from the passage of the 14th Amendment. So which is why a communal approach is the best way to address this racism and hatred and injustice head on. The Asian community cannot view itself in a vacuum and pretty much attack this injustice with an isolationist approach. It has to be a community effort. Anytime another minority group is being attacked, they have to come out and speak out. Just like people are speaking out against the injustice that happened to Asians. Now, it's presently happening to Asians right now, the attack. So, again, Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If I see wrong and I don't speak against it, that same wrong can come and bite me in another day. So, I hope this message gets across to the Asian community, and that is viewed out of love, and that collectively we can rise over and pretty much be victorious against this injustice, against every minority, everyone, every attacked group, and also the Asian community. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great